It's exciting.
I know. Okay. And I'm just going to double check on YouTube as well. Let's have a look. Superb. Right. Okay, cool. So yes, indeed. I'm not sure about LinkedIn, but I'm not going to worry too much about that one. But we're live on Facebook and we're live on YouTube as well. So welcome everyone to the Feel Inspired podcast, if I can get it right. So I have two very special guests today, but before I hold on, actually, I'm just going to do one thing. Which is, just do one thing. Let's hope this works. Here we go. Okay, fingers crossed it's going to work now. Right. So yes, sorry. Take two. Welcome to the Feel Inspired podcast, everyone. We're already live on Facebook. We're already live on YouTube. But of course, I'm recording the audio. I'd like to welcome two very special guests. But before I introduce them, let me tell you all a little bit about the Feel Inspired podcast. It was started by myself, Amit Sodha. And the reason this podcast came about was because I wanted to recreate a feeling which has been so powerful in my life. And that is that sometimes in life you've picked up a book or heard a podcast, or you've seen a video, or you've come across a quote or something that has kind of just shifted your mindset. It's created that moment where you feel inspired, and it's caused you to make some kind of change in your life. And so this is how it all came about. I do my podcast as often as I can. It's no fixed schedule, but I'm here whenever I'm available. And when I find incredibly awesome, good-looking guests, just look at these two. They're so good-looking, they're about to break my screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them introduce themselves. We'll start off with the lovely Nisha first, if you would like to kind of just tell everyone a little bit about who you are, what it is you do, and how you've got to this point. So kind of like a 2 or 3 minute synopsis of how you've got to this point right now.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Amit. Firstly, thank you so much for inviting us on to Feel Inspired. I feel really honoured to be here with Jitesh. So my name is Nisha Vyas. I am a coach, a life coach, trainer, and a mentor. So I am really passionate about inspiring people as well, and supporting people, making a difference to people's lives, and helping them be a leader of their own life. Very much what I've done with my own. So how I got here is I have a history about my background is football. So I very much have come from the world of corporate sports. I've worked with the likes of Wembley Stadium and the FA, FIFA, London 2012 Olympics, and most recently Tottenham Hotspur and Arsenal Football Club as well. So, and whilst I loved my career in the world of sports, I found that I essentially burnt out, and it took over my life, and I wasn't being a leader of what it was that was my passion and purpose. So I took all of my personal development learnings and came out of that world and created what it was my dream career, essentially. I retrained in my professional career as a coach, and now have a established coaching practice. I also go back into the world of corporate sports as a coach and trainer. And I'm also a trainer for Animas, which is one of the coaching academies, training other coaches to become a coach. So completely different now, but essentially that is who I am and what I do.
Fantastic, beautiful introduction, by the way. Bravo. Kudos to you. Also, as well, we have Jitesh Patel. Jitesh, same question to you as well. Tell everyone a little bit about who you are, what it is you do, and how you've got to be at this point now, where you're using your time and skills to kind of help people on their journey.
Hi, Amit. Thank you. I second what Nisha just said earlier. Thank you for having us on today. It's a funny time at the moment. People are probably feeling a lot of uncertainty, and it's just very weird times. I hope wherever you are, you're feeling safe, well, and I hope you get some sort of inspiration out of this. For me, it's all about having impact with people. So my background is I'm an entrepreneur. My wife and I started a jewelry brand almost 10 years ago. But I'm also a change consultant, a business change consultant. So my background is generally telecoms, public sector, and law firms. So I help businesses run their more strategic, business-related projects and programs. But with the emphasis on the people, how do you shift the minds and the workforce and the people from one state to another, be it technology, be it process? And what am I spending my time with? Actually, it's a real opportunity right now to kind of reflect on the kind of person that you want to be. And Nisha and I have been talking about this over the last couple of weeks as well, because we're developing a mastermind together for a couple of months' time. But essentially, I've been writing articles, you know, we're all reaching out to people and we're all getting information from various sources and, you know, everywhere at the moment. And I'm just picking up on subjects that the people want to hear about and, you know, putting words to it and just sharing my thoughts. And, you know, you've given us a great platform today to talk a little bit about, you know, where we might all be at and how we can improve ourselves just that little bit more whilst we're in isolation.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got to thank you both, by the way, for the amazing introduction as well. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm so glad you decided to be on with me. And I have to say, quite an interesting title and topic you've come up with. So let me just kind of share a little bit about what you mentioned to me earlier, which I think it's pretty unanimous. Everyone's feeling the same way. You know, this current time can be very unnerving for people, but not just because of the pandemic, but because of the uncertainty, the change with jobs, health, mental health, education, work, career, everything, and how it's having an impact on our mindset for so many people. And I think the other thing you said is going to be a lot of time for reflection for people as and where they are in their lives right now. And so now's kind of a good time to perhaps invest in some, you know, invest some of our energy, time, resources into our personal growth, into new habits, into a new mindset, which I think really is a great summary of, you know, the potential that this time has. So first things first, because a lot of people may just be asking that question and posing that question. I'll start with you, Jitesh. Quickly, what is your kind of definition of a leadership mindset?
Well, you know what, a leadership mindset for me is where you're accountable for the way that you conduct yourself, the way that you're feeling, and the way that you're maybe taking actions and having impact on other people's lives. And you know, Anisha will talk is really good at this because she works with a lot of clients in this aspect of getting people's mindsets in that leadership form. And she'll, you know, I'm sure she can expand on this furthermore. But essentially, when you hear the word leadership, you always kind of think you're leading other people. But actually, what Nisha's taught me is that you have to start with yourself. You have to take accountability and take action for yourself first. And then you can build on that. And with that mindset, you can progress in the areas that are most important to you.
Absolutely. How about you, Nisha, as well? And would you expand on what Jitesh just said as well? Any other insights you would add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, Jitesh just hit the nail on the head. But essentially, for me, leadership is when we look at leadership a lot of the times as somebody leading a group of people and taking charge. But essentially, in order for us to become a leader of anything, we need to become a leader of our own lives. And that sometimes is what is missing. And leadership is very much for me about inspiration and motivation. It's about inspiring ourselves and others in order to take action towards a goal or an aspiration or whatever it is that you want to achieve in your life. It can be something really small. For some people, a goal could be just being able to get out of bed in the morning and face the day. And if that's something that you've taken action on and you've been able to achieve and do, that is taking leadership of your own life. For somebody else, it could be launching a million, you know, launching £1 million company or whatever it is, you know, or taking charge of their health. It could be taking leadership in your relationships, in your finances, in any area of your life. Essentially, we are all leaders. We all have the ability to be a leader.
I love what you said as well about being, it could be something as simple as getting out of bed in the morning. And sometimes, you know, there's someone tagged me in that talk by that, I'm sure you both have seen it, that Navy SEAL, I don't know his name, who talks about making your bed, right? And it's amazing how such a simple act for them had a profound impact on them. And it sometimes is the smallest of things, isn't it? And so, so if you ask someone right now, and someone's listening to this right now, I guess what most people need is a starting point. So wherever they are right now, whatever they're doing, if they're feeling a bit lost, a bit apprehensive, if they're feeling a bit, a bit of anxiety, or even that their mental health is suffering as a result of everything that's going on right now, what would you say is a good starting point for people, Nisha?
Can I take the example you've just used about the Navy SEAL, because
Please.
I actually, it transformed my life. And so let's share that. So the essence of that essentially is that if you can get out of bed and just make your bed and complete that task, then your mindset is set for the rest of the day to be in action. And it's one task, it's the first task that you've completed for the day. You might be able to add something to this, Amit, because it's been a little while. But what I remember reading this and thinking to myself, I've never looked at making my bed like that. And I'll be honest, I used to do a very kind of like rough, just making of the bed. And there were many days working in corporate where I'd come home and my bed was unmade. And actually your mindset is different when you come home and you think, gosh, I didn't even take care of the most basic thing. So when I read that, I was like, it transformed my life, and I started to take action. So every day I would get out of bed and I would just make my bed before I did anything. This has now become something that I don't even think about. And that my making my bed has gone to propping on 6 pillows and putting 4 different blankets laid out in a certain style. And I can do that every single day now without even thinking about it, because, and I'm not saying you have to do this, but what I'm saying is that it's such these simple little things that we overlook, and we think that's such a huge task. Actually, you're just taking responsibility and taking action of the small things that then allow you to think, I've accomplished that. When we talk about anxiety and mindset, there's overwhelm is really heavily attached to that. If you're feeling overwhelmed about what it is that you're doing, then essentially that's when the anxiety starts to kick in. That's when your mindset starts to tell you that this is a huge task. But essentially, recognizing that something like making your bed doesn't need to be an overwhelming task. It doesn't have to be propped up with 6 pillows. It can just be as simple as making your bed. Jitesh, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, just to go on the overwhelm, and I think
I'll just about to do one thing, which is, Nisha, we need to see a picture of this bed when it's made.
Oh, yeah, I should take you for a walk around, actually. It's done.
But yeah, just to expand on the overwhelm element bit, because I think a lot of people may be in overwhelm at the moment. Don't get me wrong, there's some great stuff that people are doing out there, but we're all being thrust into this environment that's for most of us quite alien. We may be generally going out to work, our children go to school, we're not seeing our partners as much. And with that comes so many different roles and responsibilities, all at the same time, all in the same environment. And so that feeling of overwhelm, I think, is there with a lot of people. I'm hearing a lot about that at the moment. And one thing, I'm just not getting stuff done. What is this stuff that people are not getting done? And just starting with making your bed, like Nisha says, sets your mind up for the rest of the day. That is, you've got out of bed and you've done that. I mean, if your partner or your spouse or your lover or whoever's in the bed with your children might still be in the bed when you get up. But just that small act can really have that positive effect that we might all need to start the day, especially in the environments that we're all having to live in at the moment. And just being aware of that is a great step.
Yeah,
like a ripple effect, isn't it? From doing one thing, then other things start to snowball. Just as much as a snowball effect can be a bad thing, but it can also be a good thing. It starts off with one small thing, and then it escalates to a number of different things. And I think that is absolutely key and paramount. I'm going to kind of I want to take a deeper look at what you both just said as well. So let's look at tangibly. So starting with, actually, let me start with this then, which is for you both as well. How would you say that you've applied this to one of the toughest challenges, or a particularly tough challenge that you've had in your life? Everything you've said right now, what did it mean for you? How did you do it? How did you go about it doing it? Because I think for so many of us and so many people in general, we have great intentions. And you know what, it'll be there up until that point we're about to start, and suddenly that self-talk will kick in, we'll put it off, we won't do it, and then we'll kick ourselves, and then we feel that guilt, and then that sort of spirals as well. So what have you done specifically for you to apply this to your life? As an example, like taking this tangibly and applied it and made it work for you.
For me, Nisha, shall I go first?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I think for me, so right now, from a business perspective, I mean, we've had to shut down our retail outlets. So from a financial perspective, there's nothing coming in. There's no revenue coming in at the moment. It hasn't done since the beginning of March. Coincided that my wife and I are both self-employed. Therefore, if we don't work, or we don't have a contract, or we're not conducting workshops, or whatever that may be, there's no financial roadmap at the moment. So right now is a really tricky time. And, you know, a lot of people find themselves in this situation at the moment. But what I've chosen to do is, well, I'm using this time to do business, you know, a business course, for example, just to see if there's other avenues that I can look into expanding in at this particular time. I'm also writing articles on LinkedIn on subjects that people have brought to me, and the conversations that I'm having with my proximity and the people that are around me, whether they're in business, whether they've got careers, whether they're parents, to share some of my thoughts and some of the feelings and some of the acts and, you know, the skills that you can put into place, or what I call the success habits that you can start putting into place. Because right now, all our routines are completely different to what they were 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I'm a man of routine. It's just the way I work. I, you know, get up at the same time. My day starts in the same way. But more and more, we found, especially in the first couple of weeks, everyone in the household is just finding their mojo. So I think if you can just find a small amount of time every day just for yourself, and I do it, my wife does it, whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's an hour, you know, whether it's 90 minutes, whether it's 2 hours, if you're lucky enough to have 2 hours, just taking that time out to reflect, not on the stuff and get your admin or your house admin done, but the stuff that's really important to you, that you want to achieve during that day. And I have to admit, I've been lucky enough to maintain that, because I've shared that with the people in my household, and my wife, and I give the space for my wife to do that as well. So that's a tangible example of what we've done in our household. She gets her time and I get my time, and we get to develop ourselves in whichever way we can. And also that stops us from going down the negative route as well, because right now there is so much uncertainty, and we're using that word a lot, but the financial insecurity, children need, you know, some sort of direction, especially during schooling. And I know that most of us are on Easter at the moment, but actually they've had Easter for the last 3 weeks, you know? So we're trying to fill his time, and we're trying to be parents, we're trying to be partners, and we're trying to be carers. So just finding that, you know, a little bit of time to yourself and to nurture the things that are important to you, that's key for me. And Nisha and I were talking about this as well recently. We got into the habit of having the news on every you know, media necessary. Like we have the radio on, we have the television going in all the rooms and whatnot. But I've stopped all that. Actually, the negativity that's coming from the news at the moment, and there are some good news stories, don't get me wrong, and the NHS is doing a great job, and we're getting some great examples that are coming out, but those stories are few and far between. So I've switched off the news. I watch a little bit in the morning to catch up, to see if there's anything new that's come out the night before, and I'm also watching a little bit in the evening to see if there's anything developed or anything new that I need to know from the day. But apart from that, people are just regurgitating the same, you know, negativity over and over and over again. And if you're surrounded by that negativity constantly, it's hard to find those pockets of positivity. Yeah. And we're a little bit more trained, because you're big on, you know, personal development, both of you are. But not everyone is like that. And if you know, your WhatsApp messages and this person, and people are being impacted, you know, some positively, but a lot of people negatively. And those stories are slowly filtering out into our environments and our own families and our own folk, you know, in our own circles as well. So trying to find those pockets of positivity are really important right now. Nisha, maybe you can explain.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jet. I'm going to actually would you like me to go down the same route, Amit? And so just taking it back to pre-corona, this situation that we're in, and thank you, Jitesh, for touching on so many really important topics there. But for me, I think you really hit the nail on the head about what is it that we are allowing ourselves to be driven by, you know. And if we take the news, for example, so I'm just going to give you a bit more, I'm going to go in a little bit deeper on this, and Amit, you'll appreciate this. I'm going to give you a bit of an exclusive on Feel Inspired. I was admittedly someone who used to have, you know, a bit of a victim culture, and a bit of a blame culture was, you know, is how I used to be in my life. And there was so the very first thing that I found myself doing, going down this personal development route for myself many years ago, is looking at myself on a much deeper level and saying to myself, right, okay, who am I choosing to be? Because is it true that everybody has something wrong with them, or is it true that everyone's out to get you, or everyone's out, you know, wanting to see you fail? And actually, that's not true. You know, everyone has their own thing going on in their life. And so for me, the first thing, just to fast forward that, was getting a grip of myself and going through the personal development journey myself in order to look at all areas of my life. And I transformed all of the relationships around me with people like my mom and my dad and my brothers and my closest friends. And, you know, you have these people. So the first thing I would say is that, is there anyone that's coming to your mind right now that you think, you know, that that person not being in your life, or those relationships that are not working for you, have you, you know, avoiding that, going around avoiding that is only just going to follow us around. So, you know, I'm not here to tell anyone what to do. Essentially, as a coach, I like to work with people and help them to discover what's important to them. But for me, it was really important to take accountability for myself and my life. And I didn't realize the catapult effect that was going to have on my life, because what it really allowed me to do was clear a lot of the negative energy, or a lot of the negative thoughts that were around me, and just be able to really go deeper and look at, right, what's important to me. So whilst I was working in the corporate world, what was happening was, whilst it was amazing, glamorous, you know, you're around these international superstars, and, you know, you're knowing all these players on first name terms, it was great, but actually it was at the sacrifice of my health. So what was happening was, I would be in the office first thing, and I would be the last person leaving the office at night. I sacrificed my relationships and my health and everything else that was important to me for this job. So whilst I went through the personal development journey, I was able to check in and say, actually, what kind of life am I living? And is this important to me? What's important to me? So I then got clarity, working with a coach, on what's important to me in my life. So that was the second step for me on my leadership journey. Once I got real clarity, I then started to think, well, how can I pigeonhole this into my corporate environment? And what I didn't realize, the universe had a bigger plan, and it was that it was never going to work in that environment. And so I was kind of like, through my health, I had to take stock. So my health, just to be really transparent, I became, through the stress levels that I was under, became diabetic to the point where it was so high, my blood sugar levels, that actually I could have been facing permanent damage to my body. So I really had a shock, and I had to take stock of my life and say, okay, what am I doing? And then I managed to transform and go, right, okay, am I going to be a victim to this, or am I going to transform this? And I was able to look at what's important to me, what's important to my life, and is it this? And I took a risk. So I took a leap of faith and said to myself, I'm going to come out of this and I'm going to restart my career, restart my life. Now, I'm not saying everyone can do this easily, but I had coaches that held me to account and supported me on my journey. And I was able to, so I'm proud to say, 2 years down the line, I've transformed my health. It's better than it's ever been. I've transformed my mental health. I've transformed my career. Everything has been transformed. And this is not because I had anything special about myself. It was just these processes that I went through that I now support my clients to do exactly the same. So I help people achieve the same results now, to really understand what it is that's getting in. We essentially get in our own way a lot. So how can I get out of my own way in order to achieve whatever it is that's important to me in my life? So that's my example of how I essentially saved my own life through acting through leadership.
Nice. I love that, what you said as well about clarity is power.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. And I often say to people as well, it's often the pain that turns into power, or we have that potential to turn our pain into power. And I think that's just so important, that most people are going through a tough time. But what I say to people is that actually, sometimes those moments are the genesis of something great in your life. And if we were just to take a moment and just step back and think about what that moment is teaching us, or what is showing us, or what is forcing us to address. And I think that is, above all, you know, it can, like I said, could be just the biggest catalyst for a change. So when I have to think about this period of time, and I know you mentioned about pre this, Nisha, but when I think about this period of time, I think to myself, wow, this has the potential to become a great time for many people. Obviously, I know there's a lot of tragedy going on. I see it every day. Someone's lost their life and so on. There's so much sadness as well. But yet, in amongst all of that, there is so much goodness coming of this as well. So yeah, I want to say thank you for, obviously, firstly to both of you for just those points, because they're both very powerful. For anyone who's just joined, by the way, I'd like to introduce Nisha Vyas, and this is Jitesh Patel, and you're listening on the Feel Inspired podcast, and we're talking about leadership mindset. And as you know, one of those is my favorite. Well, self-leadership, of course, is just as important, but I talk about mindset a lot. Tell me about your mindset, and tell me about actually, with regards to your mindset as well, do you find that that also has an impact on the people around you? Do you find that that tends to rub off on your family, your friends, your circles, or do you find that you face battles in that world? Start with you, Nisha.
Start with me. Okay, so I think what's really important for me, and I'm still going through the motion, but one thing I learned was that we need to be accountable for ourselves, okay, and accepting others for where they're at. So whilst at the beginning of my journey, it was really kind of like important for me for everyone in my family to be on the same like wavelength and mindset. Actually, I have learned that whilst you can inspire people, the best way to inspire someone is just by being who it is, being in action yourself. But when we start to now try to control others, that's when it can have a really opposite effect. So what I found again is learning to accept people for who they are. We are all different, and a lot of the times we look at, I like, there's a saying where they say, what you think about, you bring about. So if I see Jit, for example, and I'm like, Jit is always just so like, I don't know, he's always moody, that's how I'm going to see him, you know. So I think it's really, which is not the case, by the way, Jit, but essentially, you know, it's a really bad example. But essentially, you know, I think what's important is to recognize that we can be in control of ourselves, but to not try and control others, and accept people for where they're at, and understand that everyone's on their own journey. What's great about working with Jesh on what I do is that what's really helped me is him having these strategies, you know, to help me with my mindset. So whilst I may be great at exploring what it is that I'm going to do, Jitesh is fantastic at going, right, okay, and these are the steps we're going to take now in order to do that. So even as a coach and as a qualified coach, I would put myself around people like yourself, Amit, and like Jitesh. By the way, your personal mindset mastery was incredible, you know, and so we're still constantly learning and evolving and recognizing that people around you are also doing the same. So I think for me, that's, if that answers the question, is important.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Jitesh, as well? Same question as well.
You know what, like Nisha said, I think, and I mean, that was a great answer, Nisha. And I call what she's essentially calling, I think what she's calling is proximity. You surround yourself with people that are going to breed the positivity in your life. Like there's lots of people, including my mum's, like, don't do this and don't do that. And there's, you know, there's naysayers about, you know, don't go out and don't take your kids out, and why are you still going running, you know, in the morning? Why is it so important to you? Like all that sort of, you know, you can choose to ignore, you know, you can choose to acknowledge it and take that on board, or you can just choose to have the mindset that you're going to set yourself, and you're going to lead by the mindset that's important to you. And I think what's happened to me is, to answer your question, is that I've gravitated towards the people that are finding the pockets of positivity. So, you know, we did Day of Positivity a couple of weeks ago, where we all had an hour session. I've been gravitating to having those sorts of conversations with people. I've been in the business world, we're talking about what are the opportunities out there? How can we add value to our clients and our customers right now when we can't physically be with them? And that's not about generating revenue. That's about how can we impact them in a positive way? What can we share with them at the moment whilst being sensitive to the current environment? And you choose to either follow one particular grain, which is going to be talking about, you know, the negative things that we've already talked about that you might be hearing from the news, and pick up on the positive stories, or the fake news that might be out there, and, you know, let that consume your dialogue or your internal dialogue. Or what I found that I've been doing, and you do find that you come in and out of it sometimes, you surround yourself, or you go to the people, you gravitate towards the people that are having similar conversations to you, because that's just the way that you might be geared up at this time. Now, it will be very easy for those of us who are out of work at the moment and not making any money, and for the foreseeable future, not knowing where any of that money's going to come from, and be like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And I'm going to lose my house, and what's going to happen with my business? But actually, what I've chosen to do is some of the tasks, and I'm more of a practical person. And that's where I think Nisha called me out on that. I can put a strategy in place where we're going to do this every day. Or once a week, we're going to come out and put some content on about this. Or once a week, this is the choice that we're going to make. So I like to have steps or actions that I can take. And that stops me going more down the negative route and keeps my mind fresh and focusing on the things that I can control rather than things that I can't, and going down that route. And that's just why I personally kind of process it.
Love that as well. That's an important statement right there. Focusing on the things you can control rather than the ones trying to force the change in the things you can't, because none of us can, and nothing is a cause of more greater stress than that, right? When you're just trying to influence things that we can't, and it's the easiest thing in the world to say, to accept it, but it is so important to try and gradually ease those things and let them go. Otherwise, we just drive ourselves nuts most of the time. I absolutely couldn't agree with you guys more. I think everything you said, that the circle of influence, proximity, who you surround yourselves with, it does ultimately have an impact on who we are, the vibration, the energy, even the habits, the ideas and stuff. And I've been around certain people, and just being around them makes me want to strive to be better.
Yeah.
I'm sure you all agree with me, right? That in the profession we're in, we tend to be around people who are struggling right now, who are going through negativity. And I don't think we'd be able to do our job unless we'd prepared ourselves well by restricting other negativity like news and all sorts of other channels and crap that comes in. Like, I've been really firm with my friends on WhatsApp. Do not send fake news. I will give you a little bit of a if I see any, because it's true. It's just, there's so much of it, and it's causing fear and panic and anxiety for people where it doesn't need to be there. And so little things like that. So we have to be on our game, so often, so much of the time, more so than I think other people in a way. But yeah, absolutely beautiful answers from both of you. I love that. I absolutely love that. If you don't mind me asking as well, kind of a little bit of a more personal question to you both as well, is how did you kind of, well, actually, let me rephrase it slightly as well. Give me some ideas of kind of, where you failed this whole leadership mindset thing, where you've kind of given yourself a C-, and what you've done as a result, because obviously it's easy to beat yourself up when you have a bad moment, when you have a bad day, when you have a bad week, so, give us an example of where you've been in a situation like that, because I think people sometimes need to hear that as well, just to be able to relate and how you've kind of got yourself through that as well. Nisha.
Yeah, thank you for asking me that question, actually. So I'm going to just go to 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I found myself feeling very anxious. Do I even call it a panic attack? I was just I just was out of myself, really, really stressed. I wasn't feeling well. I was watching the news all the time, really fearful. There were people around me that had passed away, and people that were severely impacted by this virus. And I was overwhelmed with everything that I had going on around me. And I just for a good day, I think, even questioned whether I can even do this as a job, because I'd lost myself. And the best thing that I could have ever done in that moment, and I did eventually do, was I disconnected from everything. So I gave myself that moment of silence and surrender. I just stopped. And I think this is something that I am really passionate about, and it's funny because I talk about it with my clients, and it had to take a little while for me to go, hold on a second, I need to take my own advice here. And that's what I would, the world that we live in is so caught up in what are you doing, what have you done, be a leader, be in action, but actually, and it's like you've got this medals because you've done all these things today. I cooked today, and I cleaned, and I looked after the kids, and I've done all these things. But actually, we're not human doings. We are human beings. And I think we forget that. And what's really key is that if you can't, when you're on a plane, they say to you in event of an emergency, place the gas mask on yourself first before you are able to help anybody else around you. And I use that analogy with my clients as well. It's like, are we taking care of ourselves? And sometimes taking care of ourselves is to allow ourselves that day to just lie in bed and do nothing, or to just sit and do nothing, just be outside in nature and do nothing. I think there's just as much power in doing nothing as there is in doing something. And a lot of the times we can be on like this, I like to refer it to as a hamster wheel, you know, you're just going round and round in circles. But actually, when have you stopped to just take a breath and take a break and reset? And I'm not talking about writing a to-do list. I'm not even talking about reading a book. I'm just saying stop. And when I allowed myself to stop, it transformed everything, just by me allowing myself to have that break and check in and say, okay, and just get some perspective, and obviously use the tools that I have as a coach. But it just transformed me into a different mindset where I was able to then go, right, let's go. And as Jit referred to, you know, we had this day of hope, and that was like, I think 2 days later, and it was an incredible space, you know, with yourself and Jit and so many amazing speakers, and all of us in one place for 12 hours. And that was just such an incredible space for me to be just after that reset, and also deliver a workshop myself. But I'm not afraid to say that, have I been hit by anxiety and fear and panic? Absolutely. And we're all human, and just check in that it's okay to do nothing sometimes.
100%, 100%. It's funny you mentioned that, taking your own advice. I literally put a quote on my Facebook page this morning that if we acted and took on board the advice we give to others, we'd all be successful, happy, rich, and healthy. So true, though. It's so true.
Sure.
What about you, Jit?
You know what? I have to echo Nisha. Mine was from the last 2 weeks, and I think mine goes back to the first week of lockdown. And I think I really struggled with that first week, with all the roles that I felt I had to play, and felt is the operating word there. Because, you know, like I said at the beginning, you know, we feel like we've got to be all these different things. You have to be the dad, you have to be the husband, you have to be the cook, and you have to be the teacher. And I just found myself in, I would probably call it overwhelm mode, because I was suddenly thrown into this environment where usually you go to work, or you have your time to work, you have your time to parent, and we're so used to that routine. The kids come back at a certain time and they're dropped off at a particular time, and you have your mojo, and completely being out of that completely threw me for the first week. I think I was just reacting. And what I found at the end of the day, I was getting really narky, and I was probably not very nice to be around, because what I didn't feel like I was doing is getting the my time that I was explaining before, just having a bit of time to think for myself. And, you know, some people get off on ticking off that to-do list like Nisha was referring to, and that's great. Like, we all have this task list, but what about the task list for ourselves? And Nisha and I talk about this a lot, and I mean, I've heard you talk about it. What about what we need? And, you know, how do we stop our minds from going into that overwhelm mode? And that's when I started putting more of the tangible things that we talked about at the beginning on the podcast a few minutes ago in place, because that cut through the feeling of I'm not achieving anything, or I'm not getting my things done. You know, all the other stuff has to get done. We're still going to have to be parents. We're still going to have to be carers. We're still going to have to be husbands and wives and everything else that we're expected to be during that time. And it's hard to still, in the environments that we're all living in. And once I gave myself that break that Nisha's describing in some way, and not just switching off completely, because that's not what I did, because that's not how that's not how it works for me personally, although I see complete value in it. It just allows us to see the wood from the trees. It doesn't allow you to lose yourself a little bit. And sometimes when you're in moments of stress, or you're in moments of overwhelm, or you're in moments of anxiety, you can lose the essence of who you are. And just rechecking it and then flicking that switch. And however you do that for yourself, whether it's through exercise, whether it's through reading, whether it's through just being at peace, meditation or yoga, allows you just that moment to recheck yourself. So yeah, I had a really bad moment a couple of weeks ago. You could speak to my wife about that, and you could do a whole podcast about the way I was.
Might have to take you up on that. No, I couldn't agree more. When you said something there, it kind of reminded me of something that before I started working from home and being fully self-employed, when I used to work in the city, I used to really value my time on the train. Like, obviously there were days I hated it, but
for sure,
I loved it because I could put my headphones on or bury the book, And I appreciate those moments. Whereas I don't have that now. I don't have that time, because usually my day just starts straight away as soon as you get up, or you do your exercise and then you come home and that's it. So I can imagine there's a lot of people out there feeling the same way, feeling that kind of, do you know, I would even go so far as to say that people are kind of almost mourning for a little bit of loss of different areas and aspects of their life.
Absolutely.
100%. I saw something on the news about this today as well. They were saying the same thing, that people are actually in a sense of grief right now. I just wanted to add to what you both were saying, and I did mention this to you earlier, which was that, you know, sometimes I'm probably guilty of trying to push myself quite hard, especially on the physical front and training and exercise. I was training for the marathon, but obviously it's been postponed, but I wanted to continue. And then 2 weeks ago today, I injured my knee. But I didn't want my training to stop. So literally I've been on crutches. I'd still go out for a walk. If I couldn't run, I'd just be on the crutches and walking really hard. And yesterday we went for a really long, hard walk. And by the time we got back, I was exhausted. I don't know why, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And yesterday I went to bed at 6:30 in the evening. I woke up at 5 this morning, but by 7 a.m. I was gone again. And I just literally had to put my head down for another 3 hours. But it's easy to want to make yourself feel guilty for just having those few moments of wanting to rest, recuperate, catch up, and or anything else, that little bit of selfish time, the R&R, and burying your head in your favorite movie on your iPad and away from everyone, anything else. And it's easy to, and I think this is a common theme. That one thing I wanted to talk about recently was just us guilt tripping each other, whether it's food, spending a bit of time on you and just indulging in a bit of binge watching or things like that. That's all okay. I think in moderation, it's all okay, so long as it doesn't get out of control and you end up getting addicted to these things. But those moments are so powerful for empowering us and just recharging us and getting us ready for the next chapter, or the next few weeks, or the next slog that's about to head our way. So I think, you know, I totally relate to what you were saying there. It's so important just and I think it's so natural to wig out at times and just have the, like you said, Nisha, as well, right? You know, just to have those moments. We do get anxiety. I mean, for me, everyone's different, right? For me, I do go to a place where I just get very mentally burned out and I don't realize it. But, you know, I don't acknowledge it at the time, but I know that that's when I'm getting to that point where I've kind of driven myself a bit too hard or taken on too much. And that's how it tends to affect me the most. But yeah, thank you both for those very candid answers as well. I think sometimes, like I said, people need to hear this. They need to know that they're not alone, that there are other people, even the experts, even the ones who are better at this, you know, more trained at it, still have those moments. We all go through this. We all go through these challenges, and that's never going to end. The challenges never end. You know, it just the training, the moments of training that build our muscle and make us stronger. And that's what we need to realize. And by the way, I just wanted to quickly take that moment, that segue moment, to mention that, yes, we did a beautiful full day seminar. All three of us were on there, all giving our little kind of talks and workshops on this thing called Hope, started by a friend of ours called Harry. You can find the event. There's going to be another one next Tuesday. I think, but you're both on next Tuesday as well, right?
Yeah, we are.
Absolutely, as well. So you can join us over there. What I'll do is I'll make sure when I post this later on, I'll post all the links, how you can connect with Nisha, how you can connect with Jitesh, and the link to that event as well, so you can join in next week. There was at one point over 100 people who were joining in. It was just fantastic day, and I took so much from that day. I literally could not log off. So I hope we get even more people this time. So yeah, so by the way, if you don't mind elaborating, I know you guys said you're working on a mastermind at the moment as well. So what's the specific topic? Obviously, I'm gathering it's obviously leadership mindset and stuff, but perhaps you can give us some insight as to, you know, what sort of things you cover in that, what kind of exercises that people can do, tangibly take away, that they can start doing right now.
Well, the mastermind essentially is about, you know, a success mindset. I think we're all in an environment at the moment that is, you know, unusual to all of us. And the idea around this particular mindset came because of conversations like this and the conversations that Nisha's having with her clients in the workshop that she's conducting, and also with us. And I think what the theme that I'm hearing from a lot of people is that, we're not getting to achieve what we wanted to do. But actually, a lot of people, like we've discussed already, are really reflecting on who they are and what they want from life. Because, you know, some people are happy in their environments and they're happy doing what they're doing. But there's a lot of people that have ambitions and wants and needs, but don't know how to set their mind. And I'm a true believer, and this is where Nisha comes into her A game, because she just has this ability to be able to speak to people on a level that starts slowly unraveling some of the barriers that people are facing. So effectively, the mastermind is just about success. It's a success mindset mastermind, how you can just start working on your mind with some tangible skills and benefits. And we're going to launch this at the beginning of June, to take yourself to the next level. Just to allow yourself to have those few things that you do every day, that you can work on yourself, that will allow, whether you want to lose weight, whether it's you want to change of career, whether you want to start your own business, whether you want to improve your marriage or the relationships with particular people. So it's not subject specific. It's just about getting in the mindset that will allow you to take that first step of actions. And, I mean, you touched on that earlier. Some people start and then they fail, and then the shame and it's the guilt. Anisha, talked about the hamster wheel, and this is, she works with people specifically on the wheel about how you can get off that wheel and start making some real progression. And essentially that's where it came from. Nisha, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Jet. And, I'm really excited. What's the most exciting thing about this is being able to combine the two of, so for me, it's that belief system. You talked about guilt trip earlier, Amit, and my mind just went off on one, because actually this can be a huge thing for people, because there's our own little guilt trips that we have. But actually, when we look at, so let's just say, for example, when I first decided to take this leap of faith in my career, or even with other clients that I've heard, they've played small. So we have this limiting belief, and those limiting beliefs can be driven by the people around us who have the inability to see our vision. And so what's really important for me when I work with my clients is getting clarity on what is important to you and what do you see for your life, and for you to be able to work on overcoming those limitations, because a lot of people might be listening going, I've tried this and that's never going to happen, because of potentially some of the people around them also saying, well, you could never be an amazing singer, or you could never build a business. I was told that I could never build a business as an unmarried woman because you need a husband to support you to build a business. Well, I'm here to prove that that is totally incorrect. You can achieve anything that you put your mind to, and it's overcoming those limitations and then working with us to have these practical strategies and steps for us being able to take you through the whole process of overcoming, getting clarity, overcoming the beliefs, and really getting clear on what it is that you know that you can now implement, and us taking you right to the end of this journey to see it actually come into fruition. And anything is possible, which is why what I love about this mastermind is we're not saying it's got to be in a particular area of your life. It can be in any area of your life, and the knock-on effect it will have. If you decide to take a leadership in one area, like I did with my career, the big impact it had was on my health. But health wasn't the driver for me, it was my career. And so that's just an example of how it can then also impact your relationships, and it can impact your finances. And it'll be amazing. It's like this floodgate that opens, and before you know it, your life is can be incredible. So
absolutely, go for it.
Yeah, so what I was going to say, and now more than ever, I think people are finding it a struggle to be the people maybe that they want to be, because we have all these roles and responsibilities that we're expected to play in our various guises, and it's sometimes being able to see the wood from the tree is just inspiring in itself. So if anyone took away anything, it's just a clear vision of who they want to be and where they're going to. And then they can take those tangible next steps. Is it a business course? Is it a personal development coach that they need to get in contact with? Do they need to go and learn something else? Do they need to go and speak to their boss? Do they need to go and seek therapy if it's part of, if it's a relationship that they're helping to build? Just giving them the momentum to take that first step, whilst we're all in this current environment, is a big enough step for people to get on that positive journey. So that's what we want to have the most impact we possibly can. It's a half-day thing that we're planning at the moment, virtually. But just to be able to take that first step that we've all talked about, making the bed, that making the bed moment, if that's what we're going to call it, is good enough for people to build on thereafter.
Absolutely.
100%. So give us a quick example of what they can expect, like a tangible tool that you're going to be discussing or using, or what people can take away right now that they can start working on as a precursor to your course, even possibly.
Nisha, it might be good for you to speak about the hamster wheel at the moment, because this is a big thing, and you're really, this is brilliant when you hear her talk about this.
So essentially, what we find, and we were talking about people being busy, okay, so sometimes you can be busy doing the things that actually aren't important to you. Another way of describing this hamster wheel is this ladder. So you could be climbing this ladder and getting to the top only to realize that it wasn't even the ladder that you wanted to climb up, you know, and then there's just this dissatisfaction. You've done all this work, you've put in all this blood, sweat and tears into something that actually wasn't your purpose, it wasn't important to you. So essentially allowing yourself that space to be able to start and build a foundation that you can then build on. So it's really allowing you to establish what is that foundation, what does it look like, and going back to that, what's important to me, and then from there being able to build on that, coming out of the hamster wheel, essentially not going around in circles, and being able to build a life that is, I'm going to take it on a spiritual level. We are all here to be fulfilled and happy. Okay, I'm a firm believer in that joy is our purpose in life. And how many of us can actually say that our life is filled with joy? You know, how many of us wake up every morning and feel driven by what it is that we do? I think we are a part of a few fortunate people that can say that we do this. We love what we do. But actually everyone has access to this. So it's helping people discover what is their purpose, what is their passion, and what's important to them, so that they can then become a leader of their own life in that area.
Yeah, and to talk about more the tangible kind of skills that we hope that people can, I mean, what I'm particularly good at and what I have to do with my clients is put mechanisms in place that they can follow. So whilst we can help them, whilst Nisha's very good at what is it that you need? What is it that you want? How are we going to get you to start that? What I'd like to do is, what I will be doing as part of the mindset is working on, well, this is how you can start implementing it. So you want to be a teacher, or you want to start your own business. What are the first 3 things that you need to start working on that doesn't involve money, for starters? And then putting in, diarizing segments of your day, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whether you want to lose weight, what is the first step that you can take? If you're having 2 sugars in your tea, cut 1 out. That's the first step. Because sometimes what we can do is we can say, I need a career change, or I really want to start my own business, but your mind just goes everywhere. The idea is just to tunnel it a little bit and make you focus. First, get your mindset correct that you can do it and you're ready to do it, and there's always time to do it. And then give you some tangible steps that you can take in the first instance. Now, we're only talking about half a day because we don't want to overwhelm people, but the idea is to take you from the overwhelm and start focusing you in onto the tangible bits that you can do, looking at the tasks that you can start taking action on straight away that won't take you so much time, but will just progress you just that little step further to where you want to go.
And just one more thing I wanted to add to that, thanks, Jet. You've just reminded me is a lot of the time we think that we want to achieve something, but actually it's the outcome of that is what we want. So for example, I had a client, this is a true story, who used to go traveling, and her passion was travel. And she was like, I love traveling, and you know, every year I need to go on like 3-4 holidays, and she had the money to do it, and she'd spend all this money. And so we, at the beginning of our session, we'd explore what was important to her, and travel was important. Or so I thought. So in my mind, I'm like, this client really, really needs to travel. As we went through our coaching, she spent a good 6 months with me, working me on a one-to-one level. And at the end of this 6 months, I went back and we talked about what's important to her. And interestingly, she never mentioned travel. And so I said, oh, I've noticed that travel hasn't come up here. Can we? She went, oh God, no, I don't need to do that anymore. I realized that actually I was just escaping. I was using travel as an escape from my reality, and actually that was what it was doing. And now she's saved all this money on booking expensive holidays because actually she doesn't need to escape her life.
Wow, that's quite an interesting one, actually. I wonder what the travelers watching this are going to make of that as well.
I can relate to that story.
Wow, that's quite fascinating, that is. So we're gonna start rounding up, but I want to ask you both, what areas of your life right now would you say you both still need a leadership mindset on? Are you working on for yourselves?
It's so easy for me.
Go on, you.
Yeah.
So there's two things that I'm being so like vulnerable. Amit, you've got me like.
I have been doing this. People
good, huh? He's like the Indian Oprah.
Definitely my health, because my health is something that I'm on a great journey with it. So it's much better, but definitely, you know, I'm going to be using Jitesh's strategies on less sugar and walking a bit more, and yourself actually with these Amit, with this getting up early and you know, just having a bit more structure in my health, because I'm very career focused, so everything else comes secondary to that. And definitely, you know, like maybe getting out there. I know I might need to join your dating network and get out there and start meeting some people, because I do, my love life is questionable. Fucking love.
For me, you know what I'm really good at? I'm really good at feeling guilty about a lot of things, whether it's not spending enough time with the kids, whether it's not spending enough time with my wife or quality time with not spending enough time developing the business. I live in a lot of guilt, I think. So what I need to really work on, that it's okay, like Nisha says, and that's where she comes in it for me. It's okay to stop, especially right now. You don't have to be that big, bad entrepreneur that you think you are all the time. Times are different right now. You know, you can allow yourself the space to do the things, the other stuff that sometimes that you get distracted from, you know? And I love the thing that you talk about, the commute. I used to love a commute because the amount of books that I used to get through was brilliant. And now I'm just not reading for anywhere near the same amount of books that I was over the last 2 or 3 months. And again, I was feeling guilty about that. Go figure, you know. So I need to work on that whole guilt thing for me, because you know that's how I benchmark my achievements. And I think I just need to cut all that out and just be like, right. So you know what, you didn't get to do that today. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, I think we underestimate just how powerful the feeling of guilt can be, and
guilt, shame, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
I was talking about this subject with someone recently, and I think just applying it to a different area of life is that one thing that people do, and this is why they end up in bad food cycles, is not only are they already feeling guilty about the bad food choices that they make, but if they make a slight improvement and they were to post it on social media, the first thing they'll do is get people saying, oh yeah, but you should still be more healthy, you should still do this, that, the other. And I'm like, for God's sake, have some thought for food, right? Just if someone, for me, if someone has, I'd much rather someone have a chocolate bar eating with a mindful, positive attitude than eating a banana stressed out on their desk, you know, trying to stress away. Because I think that mindset just has such a powerful impact on our body, our immune system, our gut bacteria, everything. And so if you're eating in a good state, it will benefit your body. If you're not, even if you think you're eating something good, it's gonna harm you in many ways. So yeah, and Nisha, again, I could totally relate and stuff. I was just going to say, from the dating point of view as well, I think that you know, I was definitely there at some point. And but one thing I do say to my clients when it comes to the dating side is that so much of, in fact, I would say everything we do is rooted in love. And when you sort that area of your life out, you'll find that so many other areas will fall into place. And you'll be surprised, you know, what comes of it. So I think, you know, even you'll find a little bit of surprise on that journey. But I'm looking forward to seeing you there as well on the dating scene and getting yourself back out there. Why not even a few virtual dates here and there?
I'll look forward to it. I'll be tapping you up, Amit.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Thanks.
So we all are, you're gonna also catch all of us, like I said, I mentioned it earlier, but I'll mention it again. You're gonna catch all of us next week on Tuesday on the Unleash the Wolf Within Hope, which stands for, Nisha?
Have only positive expectations, or having only positive expectations.
And obviously Nisha is the co-organizer of that. In fact, so why don't you just quickly take a moment now and just tell everyone a little bit about that, and it just, in fact, the story of just how you guys got it together so quickly last time and where it came from. Brilliant. Just tell everyone and I'll share all the links after this anyway on the video. So go for it.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So myself, Harry, Harry Dokia, who is the founder of Unleash the Wolf Within, UWW, which is a Facebook group. It started off with a WhatsApp group, still a part of both of those groups. She's incredible at just being this powerhouse of getting things done. And so I was talking about doing some workshops, and we got together and we had a chat, and literally within the space of half a day, we'd come up with this idea and the name and a lineup of speakers, you know, because of the connections that we have within our lives, amazing people like yourself, Amit and Jitesh. So we managed to just come up with the Day of Hope, and we knew that it was a time that people really needed this, you know, just having an environment where they could come to and dip in and out of. So it's a Zoom link that was set up, and 12 speakers from 9 a.m. through to 8 p.m. And we thought that people would dip in and out. But what we found was we had, from the morning, over 70, 80 people had joined us. Throughout the day, we had over 100 people, and a lot of them stayed for 12 hours, like yourself, who just said they just couldn't bring themselves to come away from it. And so we thought about, you know, well, we knew we had to do another one immediately. And again, Harry was the driver in this, and we've just got it out. And this is happening again on Tuesday coming. And again, an amazing lineup of speakers, some new, some existing, and we're really looking forward to having, you know, people join us again. And it's a free. The fantastic thing about this is we had people coming to us after and saying, can we pay, can we make donations? And the essence of hope is for everyone to have access to a day where you can just shift your mindset and learn from experts in the business. And there's everything from meditation to personal mastery workshops with Amit, and, you know, strategic business building with Jitesh. And we had Gajal's cooking demo, which was amazing. We had laughing meditation and yoga and crystals. There's so much for everybody, and it's an incredible day, and it's our way of giving back. And I think as true leaders, it's also about giving, you know, and supporting each other, especially at such a difficult time. And so that's the essence of hope, is just for everybody to have some hope, essentially.
Beautiful summary as well. And it was such an awesome day. I literally couldn't leave, and, you know, even in the bathroom I didn't take my laptop in, but I left it outside, volume fill up, camera off, of course, just in case. But yeah, I just couldn't tear myself away from it. So I enjoyed myself, and like you said, there was something for everyone, and so many different facets of personal development for everyone. The laughter yoga, the energy healing, the mindset, the cooking, the productivity, everything was there. And I think there was something for everyone. And I'm hoping now, fingers crossed, we get 200 people on this time. And I'm pretty sure we can do it easily.
Yeah, easily.
For sure.
Yeah, like I said, I will definitely be sharing all the links and stuff. So I'll update the videos so that we've got all the links so that you can connect with, directly with Jitesh. She's more kind of active on LinkedIn, so I'll post his link there if you want to connect with him over there. And Nisha is very active on Facebook and all platforms, and Instagram as well.
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Yeah,
absolutely. So I'll post the links for her there as well, plus to this live, to the podcast link, and of course for Hope as well, so that people can join in over there. And I think it's going to be another amazing day, and I'm very much looking forward to it. But right now, I cannot say thank you enough to you both for coming on to the Feel Inspired podcast, episode 8. And you're on the first virtual podcast that I've done as well. Hey. Normally, most people come to my house and it's in person. I love doing that, but obviously we've all had to adapt and stuff as well. So I'm going to give you both a virtual squeezy hug right now as well. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Amit. This has been incredible. We're really honoured to have been able to come here and connect with you and connect with your audience, and yeah, look forward to many more. Thank you.
Definitely, and I can't wait as well. Thank you again so much, guys. And like I said, I'll send you all the links as well. Welcome everyone to the Feel Inspired podcast. Episode 9 is coming on Friday. They're going to be churning out a little bit faster at the moment as well, with a lovely I've forgotten the name now. Oh, it's got on my head. Just having a mental block. It's got Renu, sorry, bigger day. There you go. I had a mental block there for a second as well. Lovely Renu is going to be on the podcast on Friday, and then we've got Kajal on Monday as well. So each of these speakers, Hope speakers, is going to have a chance to have a bit more in-personal time with them as well. thank you again, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. You are both honestly really amazing at what you do, and you are fantastic orators as well, and you explain things so well, and you do it in such a way that it's easy for people to digest and take on board, which is beautiful. And I think that that in itself is just an enormous skill. So thank you again. God bless you both in your journeys, respective journeys in this isolation lockdown time, and no doubt we will all connect again soon and come out bigger and stronger on the other side, but not round the waist. There we go.
Exactly.
Thank you, Amit. It's been brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. God bless. Have a good one.
And you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.